Welcome back to The Explainer. We're always on the lookout for those so-called healthy treats. Well, today we've got one that looks super promising, but does it actually live up to the hype when we test it out? The answer? Well, it's definitely not what you think. All right, so let's get right to it. The big question is this. Can a sweet that's packed with a special super fiber actually stop your blood sugar from spiking? Is that even possible? We're not just going to guess. We're going to find out with a real-deal glucose test.
So our test subject today is a traditional Gujarati winter sweet. It's called Gunder Pak. And honestly, on paper, this thing sounds amazing. It's supposed to be a healthier option, and that's all because it's built around one key ingredient, an ingredient with a seriously good reputation.
And that star ingredient? It's called Gond, which is basically an edible gum. Now, this stuff is a plant-based resin, and it's absolutely loaded with soluble fiber. Plus, it has a low glycemic index. So in theory, right, this should be the perfect weapon against a big sugar spike. It's exactly why we went into this thinking Gunder Pak would be a pretty safe bet. So the idea is pretty straightforward. The Gond with all that fiber should keep the sugar spike nice and low. But, theories are one thing, data is another. So let's see what actually happened when we put it to the test.
Okay, so the experiment itself was super simple. Just eat 2 pieces of Gunder Pak. But as you can see, it's not just Gond in there. Oh no. You've also got ghee, dry fruits, a bunch of spices, the whole shebang. And that really nice chewy texture that people love? Yeah, that's the Gond doing its thing.
And just so you know, this is definitely not a light snack. It's a really dense, rich winter treat. We're talking around 380 calories for the 2 pieces we're testing here, so it packs a punch.
So what did it taste like? The immediate feedback was, wow. It's fantastic. There's so much going on. It's spicy, it's complex, and it has that awesome chewiness. So from a taste perspective, it's a total winner. But the big question remains, what's it doing to your blood sugar? That's where the glucose monitor comes in. And this is where the story takes a very, very sharp turn. Because when the results from the glucose monitor started rolling in, they were absolutely not what anyone was expecting. Not even close.
So what was the damage? The glucose spike clocked in at 35 milligrams per deciliter. Now, I know that number by itself might not mean a whole lot to you, so let's actually put it into perspective, because that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, check this out. When you compare Gunder Pak to other winter sweets that were tested, things like laddus made from sesame or besan flour, those only caused a spike somewhere in the low 20s. Gunder Pak, way higher, not even in the same ballpark.
And this is just wild. We're talking about a spike that's 50% higher than those other sweets. It was a total shock, because everyone expected the Gond to keep that spike down, just like the others. The whole hypothesis was just blown out of the water.
So this leads us to the million-dollar question, right? If the star ingredient is this amazing super fiber, then what on earth went wrong here? How do you explain a spike that massive and that unexpected? Well, it turns out the answer isn't about whether the healthy ingredient is in there, it's about how much of it there is. The secret isn't in its presence, it's all about its proportion. It's a classic case of it's not what's in it, but how much of it is in there. And once you actually look at a typical recipe for Gunder Pak, the whole mystery just disappears. It becomes so obvious. That main ingredient, the Gund, really only makes up about 15, maybe 20% of the whole thing. So what's the other 80 to 85%? Yep, it's everything else. The sugar, the ghee, the flour, you name it.
So think about it like this. The healthy, high-fiber Gond was in there for sure. It was trying its best, but its good effects were just completely drowned out. It was like a tiny voice in a giant, noisy stadium. It was totally overpowered by the huge amounts of sugar and other stuff.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway here, doesn't it? This whole experiment is a perfect, and I mean perfect, reminder that you can't get fooled by the health halo of just one ingredient, The total package, the overall composition of your food, is what really truly matters. So the lesson is, it's not just about what's in your food, it's about how much of it is in there. That's the secret.